What is the weirdest thing that happened to you at a concert? I got there an hour early to wait at the front, then two people behind me after it filled up. Leaned on me so hard on the barrier, purposely crushing me so I would move. I'm small, 5'2". They were a lot bigger than me. I didn't move even though she was putting all her weight on me on purpose. Then she managed to shove the girl next to me to get to the front. Then her boyfriend, who was 6'3", continually leant on me to crush me and kept smacking me in the face by waving his arm in front of me. It was miserable. I had waited to see the band since a teenager, and my partner kindly drove 2 hours and we got a hotel so I could go. Two girls next to me acknowledged they were total dickheads. Towards the end, I shoved him really hard and he eased off a bit. Honestly, total assholes. It was completely intentional. It wasn't because it was packed. I was at a concert in Austin, Texas during SXSW about a decade ago. A woman standing next to me was bouncing along to some tune being played at the time, seemingly happy as could be. We were all vibing along, having a good time, and I casually turned to her and said, "She's brilliant, isn't she?" referring to the group on stage. I can't remember the name of the band now. They weren't very big, and I'd never heard of them before that night, nor do I believe I've seen them since. It's a shame. They were good. Anyway, brilliant isn't a word I normally use to describe something, but for some reason, that's the word I happened to use at that moment. Upon hearing me talking to her, she turned to me completely red in the face and shouted in a very heavy British accent of some region I'm not sure of, but sort of sounded like estuary if I were to make a guess. "I will not be mocked." She all but took a swing at me, and her two friends had to pull her back from me. They disappeared into the crowd. I have no idea what the fuck that was about.
When I was a teenager, I saw a band called After the Burial, a metal gent band at First Avenue. Anyways, I was in the heat of big mosh pit. I locked eyes with a girl who was throwing down next to me. I got pushed into her. I grabbed her because I almost knocked her over. We looked at each other up close and were hugging. She immediately started making out with me. We were both pretty small. I'm 5'4", she couldn't have been taller than 5'1". This big guy saw us and yelled, "Protect the little couple." We stood at the edge of the mosh pit and made out. He stood between us in the pit and prevented anyone from crashing into us. It felt like I was in a movie, kissing this cute girl while the band was shredding on the last song of the night. Anyways, I gave that guy a cigarette after the show ended and got the girl's number. 10 years later. Just kidding. She lived really far away from me, so nothing happened. It's a good memory, though. Edit typos. First concert I ever went to, the Guess Who. It was outside, basically in a big field. I was 13. This was 1970-ish. I'm trying to get closer. There is a crowd of people sort of in a circle in front of me. Somehow I push through and see two people banging on the ground. Shocked the shit of 13 wide out on me. First concert I ever went to, the Guess Who. It was outside, basically in a big field. I was 13. This was 1970-ish. I'm trying to get closer. There is a crowd of people sort of in a circle in front of me. Somehow I push through and see two people banging on the ground. Shocked the shit of 13 wide out on me. Ugh, no one ever be this person. I was dating someone a long time ago who went to concerts all the time. That's how we met. But this one time, it was one of the scariest nights in my life because of safety. At the time, I worked evenings. My shift was supposed to be 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. It never ever worked out that way, and there was no third shift, so we had to finish before leaving. Night before a concert, it was rough. I didn't get home until something ridiculous like 3 or so in the morning. Maybe later. This was because of work, nothing fun. I thought it would be fine. Get so asleep in concert later in the day. Nope. My girlfriend at the time woke me up at 6 or 7 a.m. to drive the 2 hours to the concert we were going to so she could be front row center at a general admission concert at a large stadium venue. She also was afraid to drive in the highway, so guess who got to drive 2 hours on a few short hours of sleep? I told her she could wait in line, but I'm going to try to get some rest in the car. She said okay, but when it actually happened, she was upset. I had to wait outside with her in the non-existent line. Doors weren't opening for many hours later. I barely remember the concert, but I remember I was driving us home too, and so tired I'm pretty sure I was hallucinating. I kept thinking, those are some really big trucks in the distance. Turned out to be clouds on the horizon. It took everything for me to stay awake. I asked her to drive home before we left too. She refused. I had work the next day too, but I was able to get a little more sleep than the previous night at least. I'm lucky we made it home safely. That could have been really bad. Thanks for watching. Write your story in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you tomorrow.